Hey, what's up guys, you got Gypsy back here today bringing you guys CPC Week 6 going up against Styx from the Token Minorities. This match is a little bit late going up because I've just got back from holiday and I didn't have my recording equipment with me whilst I was away. Obviously I was having a great time, but yeah, I flew back at like 1 AM this morning and running on very little sleep, but wanted to bring you guys this match because it's been a few days since I uploaded any content to the channel, so hopefully you guys appreciate that. But yeah, we're going up against Styx. I mentioned he's a member of the Token Minorities, so my old friend Jolt is obviously Styx's partner on that channel, and they create some really solid content. So if you guys are interested in the Pokemon trading card game, Styx is the man to go and watch for that. As well as draft league content, because recently he's made his mark in the draft scene and he's really enjoying it, and he's really making a very solid name for himself. So at this stage in the season, he was the only coach, I believe, that is undefeated. Whilst we are technically undefeated, the team we inherited had already accumulated a couple of losses to its name, so Styx is the only actual, like, on paper undefeated team remaining in the season. So that's an example of how well he's performed and been using the team he inherited, because he was actually a replacement coach like myself during the first few weeks of the season. So as you can see, he's got the Landorus T Mega Kangaskhan combo, which is just nasty. Lando T, best mon in the format without a doubt, such a sick mon. Mega Kang, definitely a menace to play against. Luna Dance Crest is very nice support for these two brilliant mons. Crobat, very nice disruptor for a lot of teams. Drud, very nice. Rocker, very nice bulky mon, as well as a potential Trick Room abuser with Crest. And Whimsicott is a very nice mon, very underrated mon in my opinion. He also had stuff like Tentacruel on his team, as well as the Houndoom, which and this is all, which are all pretty solid, but not the greatest in this particular matchup. Rocking the team, going through the team that I'm rocking today, we have a defensive Celesteela, Specs Grand, Scarfed Mesprit, a Helmet defensive Crook, Solju Laddie, and a Dragon Dance Zard X. So yeah, very solid team in my opinion. I'm very happy with the team I built for this game, but we're going to jump right into it. So he's going to lead off with his Lando here as I lead off with my Crook. Now I'm a fairly fast Crook, as his Lando does reveal to be a faster Lander than my Crook due to his Intimidate proccing first. This is interesting. This made me think that looking at matchup, like, Landorus is more than likely one of his responses to Zard X, because nothing else really appreciates the Zard X setting up to +1. A Lure Dradagon at matchup seems likely if this is not Helmet, or like a defensive Lando. So getting that critical information turn 1 kind of indicates to me this is either a Scarf Landorus and this is like a very bulky Haban Drud, or he is just going to be like super confident that I'm going to Dragon Dance and he's going to Encore Lock me with Whimsicott or something like that. He may even be like a defensive Toxic Kang or something like that, but yeah, certainly physically defensive Crest isn't the greatest Zard X counter, so I felt like this Lando here was either going to be defensive or he was going to be a Scarfed, and by indication of his Intimidate proccing first, that does tell us that he more than likely is Scarfed. Didn't really think he'd be like a fast, speedy, jolly Lando. It just doesn't really accomplish a ton this game, and he's undersped by a lot of my other mons, like Crocodile, for example. Max speed Crook outspeeds jolly Lando, so yeah, not really much of a reason to run a super fast Lando here unless he wanted to outspeed like a max speed Mesprit, but even so, that's... Oh, he was like aggressively creeping an Adamant Zard or something like that, but either way, he is going to go for the U-turn here, as I am just going to go for knockoff. If he wanted to stay in and go for a superpower, I lived the hit. I got off chip with the Helmet and I knocked off his Scarf, which is important for the other mons on my team. If he wants to U-turn out into something on his team, expecting me to go for the rocks here, then I'm going to get a nice knockoff on anything, giving me some valuable information. So he is going to go out into his Crobat here, as I do just go for the knockoff. Now this damage at -1 reveals, given that I'm not a very invested Crook, this is more than likely an offensive bat. So I'm going to go for rocks here, knowing that I can take a Brave Bird or a U-turn with ease. If he reveals Taunt, that's going to be valuable information. That's going to mean that he's probably like a Brave Bird, Super Fang, Taunt Roost, no U-turn. He's actually going to go for Super Fang and miss here, which is really unfortunate for him, as he would have got some nice chip off of my Crook. and that would have meant that Crook couldn't take hits as well as it does later on in the game, but it's gonna balance out soon, you're gonna see. So I'm gonna go for rocks here. He misses the Super Fang, which is definitely unfortunate for Styx, but here I'm going to go into my Mesprit. Obviously not trying to go into my Celestealer and lose half to the Super Fang. I'm going to go into Mesprit here and scare him out with the obvious Psychic. Now, he could have stayed in here, like, just not expecting Scarf Mesprit, but Styx has shown that he's a pretty smart player. He could identify that I had no reason to, like, bring Mesprit in, knowing that offensive Brave Bird could kill an offensive Mesprit from that range of health, so clearly I am a Scarf variant. I could have gone for something like U-turn here if I had it, but going for Psychic here was no drawback. It revealed the spread of Crest, revealed the damage on Crest, and a potential lefties item if he did have it. So he chews that Psychic up, reveals that he's not very Spadef, so he's probably like max Fizdef or something like that, probably a calm mindset. Looking at my team, as I am just going to switch out here into my Celestealer. Heavily contemplated going Crook on the Thunderwave, as Thunderwave is a very nice bring this matchup. Cripples a lot of my faster offensive threats. Stuff like Zard can set up on crests outside of T-Wave, so Thunderwave was very nice. Bringing this game, very much contemplated going Crook here, but on the off chance that he had gone for a Moonblast there, predicting my Crook or my Greninja to come in, I would have lost a lot of health on Crook, if not died to an offensive crest. So getting my Celestealer parried is not the end of the world. I do have Healing Wish on Mesprit, so if I need to heal this up later on in the game, it's not a big deal, I can do that. As I will now be able to just fire off a... I think this turn I did go for Leech here, as he does go into Drud on my Paralysis. So this is annoying. I think I went for... Actually, no, I did go for Heavy Slam that turn. Heavy Slam would have put this Drud at a range of health. You're going to see in a few turns why I say that. It would have got at least 30% off on this Drudagon. I went for Heavy Slam there in case he wanted to go into Whimsicott on my predicted Leech Seed. Had I gone for Leech there and his Whimsicott would have come in, he could have encored and then subbed up and started sub-Leech spamming, which is very annoying versus me. Crest would have taken at least 25 from a Heavy Slam as well, or around, no, not 25, he would have taken around 18 to 20 from a Heavy Slam. Would have given me some information on the Crest too, if he had like Charge Beam or something like that. And if he had gone into Whimsicott, it would have just died expecting the Leech Seed. So I would have got some nice damage off on this Druddigon, which is going to come into play later on, you're going to see. But now I'm just going to go right into my Latios, as I do expect this to be the rocker. I expect this to be the rocker because he did bring it in a sort of defensive manner versus my Celestealer. He also had revealed to more than likely be a Scarfed Lando versus my team. If you look at his team, like, he doesn't really have another potential Scarfer. He could be Scarf Trick, Scarf Switcheroo, Whimsicott, which is okay, but it's still kind of bad versus me. And Scarfed Crobat is no set versus me. He's got no reason to run that. He's already revealed to be more than likely... Oh, I knocked off his Scarf Blade earlier, so he's obviously not a Scarfed Crobat. But I'm going to go hard into my Latios here because I want to get Rocks off if I can. I don't want him to get Rocks up permanently because that's going to really cripple my Zard. And it's going to chip down stuff like Selly switching in. I can also threaten this out with a Draco. Now, if I had got the Heavy Slam off on this Druddigon, it would have been in range of an Ice Beam from my Latios, which would have meant that Ice Beam was just a really safe play here, as Whimsicott would have not been able to switch in freely. It would have also meant that had he gone into... I could have forced him to go into Crest and then defog the next turn. Even if I had got parried, I would have taken it in return for getting rid of the rocks here. But I'm going to go for Draco this turn, and he's going to reveal Haban Berry. So this is very nice prep, and this indicates that this is probably a defensive Drud aimed at taking a +1 Dragon Claw from my Zardex. Further reinforcing my assumption that he is a Scarf Landorus here, so that's important to know. He is going to go for a Dragon Tail here and miss, so that does somewhat make up for the the Heavy Slam miss on this Druddigon, as if he had taken the Heavy Slam, obviously he would have just died to that Draco, so hacks for hacks, I suppose. As now I am going to go for the defog this turn, as he does glare me, so I end up with a parried Laddie here. I have removed rocks, but now my Laddie is parried. Although even though I am at -2 and parried, I still will be able to outspeed and knock him out with the Ice Beam here. Ice Beam covered him going Whimsicott there, but he's going to now switch into this this Landorus here, so I'm just going to go hard into my Celestealer this turn, as U-turn was his most obvious play there. So he's going to U-turn out into Crobat here, and I'm just going to go for some damage here. I want to get some Heavy Slam damage off, and Heavy Slam easily 2-hit KOs this Crobat. It may even have OHKO'd at that range of health. I don't think it OHKO'd, but it did a ton, forcing him to roost. I could then Leech Seed or just spam Heavy Slam versus his team. The reason I'm letting Selly get low is because I know this Crobat can't kill me. Heavy Slam is going to always leave me out of range. Super Fang is always going to leave me out of range of Brave Bird, so I can always Leech up and or just click Heavy Slam and get a big chunk off versus anything on his team, barring the Crest. And I can always Scarf Healing Wish this up later on if I need to. So he's going to go for Super Fang here. I get parried. Very unfortunate. I get parried a lot this game, which it's just unfortunate basically. But yeah. This turn he is going to go for another Super Fang, as my Heavy Slam does do 49. So had we hit the first Heavy Slam, this would have died, although he probably would have preserved Crobat and got into something like Selly the Cresselia that turn, which meant I could have just Leech Seeded as he U-turned. So pretty unfortunate. I did get parried there, but this does mean the Crobat is low, and now I can go for another Heavy Slam here as Kang does come in and take 46. So he didn't go for U-turn, so he probably didn't have U-turn there, or he would have gone for it. But Selly's still at a decent amount of health, where it still can check stuff like Whimsicott and like U-turn Lando. And I have got a decent chunk off on the Kangaskhan here. So I'm going to go switch out this turn. I'm going to go into my Crocodile here, getting the Intimidate drop, as Helmet Chip will be really appreciated versus this Kangaskhan. He's going to go for Drain Punch and get a nice amount of health back with the Drain Punch, but it's not really going to mitigate the Rocky Helmet damage completely, as he will just be able to take out my Crook here. So this means no rocks for either of us, and I'm pretty fine with that exchange, because that means Zard has a nicer time versus his team. Rocks would have been nice versus him, but obviously getting my Zard in every time without having rocks up is more important. So I'm going to bring in Zard here, and I am just going to click Flare Blitz this turn, as he does go into his Landorus here. He takes a nice chunk, and I'm just going to switch hard out into my Selly here, as he goes for the EQ on my Zard. So if he thought that I didn't think he was, like, if he assumed that I didn't think he was Scarfed and just stayed in with my Charizard there, he could have just knocked me out with EQ. So I got into my Selly there, and I am going to obviously dodge that and then be able to fire off a Heavy Slam there. So Heavy Slam was really nice there, because if he'd gone into Crest to chew the Heavy Slam, I just could have gone for Leech the next turn. But I did click Heavy Slam there, and as you see, I got parried yet again. So I got parried there, could have knocked out this Crobat and had a +1. But I do just get a bit of lefties back, and this turn he is going to go for Super Fang and miss, and I am going to hit Heavy Slam. So like the Heavy Slam miss the turn previously didn't really matter. It actually benefited me in a sense, because I did get 6% extra health back, but you're going to see that's not going to end up having mattered at all. I wouldn't have minded just hitting the first Heavy Slam and knocking out the Crobat there regardless, because he's just now going to bring in his Landorus here, and this is screaming knockoff, because I know he's Scarfed. Like, he knows I know he's Scarfed, and EQ, U-turn, Lando can't really touch the Celesteela. Knockoff Lando can't even touch the Celesteela either, but the fact that he will knock off my lefties is going to be nice to allow him to wear me down, so I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to go to my Zard here. If he goes for knock this turn, I can just roost it off, and on the off chance he went for something like EQ there and predicted my Zard, I just got a free Leech or Heavy Slam off with my Celesteela, or got a big hit off with my Latios there. So he's going to knock, he's going to crit my Zard, which means that it's a little unfortunate. Like, I'm just going to go for the damage here with Zard, but obviously it would have been nice to not be crit there, as I'm now closer in range of an Ice Beam from his Crest. I am now in range of an Ice Beam from Crest. There was no real point there in roosting up, because if he'd gone into Whimsicott that turn, predicting my roost, he could have encored me, and Subseed is a bit annoying. So he's now going to go into his Whimsicott and bait me to switch out into my Selly, as he makes the switch out into Kang there. So that's fine with me. I get a bit of extra lefties on Selly, and I know he's probably going to have the Fire Punch, because I do have Decidueye and a Celesteela on the squad, which resist his stab, or are immune to his stab. So I'm just going to go into my ladder here to soak up the Fire Punch, and if he has Return, it's actually a very good chance in my favor to live a Return, as he actually reveals the double edge. So double edge Kang, he takes a nice chunk of recoil from that, and he's now in guaranteed range of anything on my team. So although he already was, but Laddie wasn't doing a ton this game anyway. Obviously Whimsicott is a bit annoying. I am parried, so I can't even outspeed like a bulky Whimsicott and hit it with an Ice Beam before it Moonblast me. So yeah, Laddie had served its purpose for sure. It had prevented rocks and killed off the Dredagon. So gonna bring in my Greninja here and just click Ice Beam as he does switch out into his Whimsicott here. He reveals to be a Yachi Berry, and we get an unfortunate freeze on the Whimsicott. So very unfortunate for Styx. Obviously, like Ice Beam to a KO'd, and I outspeed the Whimsicott, but he could have just gone for a Tailwind here, which is what he did, what he does have, and what he actually ends up clicking, because I'm not going to risk him waking up. Because I am modest, I'm outsped by an offensive, like fast Whimsicott, which he could potentially be. Although I do expect him to be a bulkier Whims, just versus my team, having stuff like Gren and Laddie. But I'm not going to risk him waking turn 1 and being offensive when this is a fantastic just win con to have around. I'm just going to go hard out into my Selly here, as he does attempt to Thaw. And this turn he is going to Thaw, so that freeze only really... it didn't matter too much, because he probably would have gone for a Tailwind the first turn versus Gren anyway, unless he was a timid Whimsicott, in which case he would have potentially clicked Moonblast, but either way I would have gone out into Celesteela regardless, so it would have been the same situation. I just would have had slightly less health after taking a Moonblast, but Moonblast would have done 0 to Selly anyway, so he gets the Tailwind up regardless. So that freeze proved not too important in this game, as I will be able to knock him out with the Heavy Slam. So Wimps is going to go down, as he is now going to bring in his Cresselia. So I am just going to go for a Leech Seed this turn, as he has revealed the Carmine. So he's revealed Carmine T-Wave. If he's revealed Carmine Thunderwave, and chances are he has Moonlight, and he's now just revealed Ice Beam. So he's walled by Gren basically with Leech Seed up, which is nice, and he's walled by my Mariana, which is also nice. But Cress is still really fat, so this is still a bit of an irritation to take down. But I am just going to spam Heavy Slam along with Leech Seed Recovery. That's going to force him into a range of health where he does need to Moonlight up. So I am going to take this opportunity to send in my Zard here and go for just send it in to get a bit of lefties, bit of the Leech back, and now switch out this turn. Oh, no, I go for Flare Blitz this turn, because had he gone for a T-Wave there, he would have been really low after Flare Blitz plus Leech, and I could just spam Flare Blitz, basically force him to stay low, and then knock him out with Gren's Dark Pulse. But this turn he is going to go for the Thunder Wave, and knowing I can always Healing Wish up my Zard, or even Preserve Differential if I need to, I can switch out this turn, as he does heal up and just go into my Gren. The nice thing about this is, like, Cress only has like 6 Moonlight PP I think left at this point, and he can't beat Gren 1v1 with like Ice Beam because I resisted, and I'm getting Leech back. I'm chipping him down. Like, eventually he has to recover up, so I can just start clicking Dark Pulse. But I decide to play a little bit interestingly around this Cress. I go into my Mesprit here because I do have Trick, and if he is like a Colbur variant of Cress, I can just trick him the Scarf, and that will allow me to Healing Wish up anything on my team. But he does reveal to be unable to be tricked, which means he's actually holding a Z Crystal. So that's a really nice prep on his part, as this means I will have to go back out into my Gren and start firing off attacks versus this Cress, as you see +2 Ice Beam only does 21, and we get it basically all back with the with the Leech Seed. That's really nice. He's now going to be forced to stay in and Moonlight up. I can just start clicking Dark Pulse, get parried there, which is pretty unfortunate. After you saw the last Dark Pulse did 33.8, so after that round of Leech, he would have been at about like 20 or so, like 21 or 22, which would have been really nice. But that's that's what happens with the Yellow Magic. So he's going to Moonlight up here, as I am going to fire off another Dark Pulse, do a nice 37 there. So he's taking almost 50 from my Dark Pulses with the Leech Seed combined. So +3 he takes 27. So we are wearing him down. We are wasting his Moonlight PP, and it's at this point that I'm pretty content with how my Gren is chipping him down. I do want Gren not to be parried because obviously his Kang is only at 17%, but if I get really unlucky with paras, and like Hack seems to be the only way. Hack seems to be on my case recently, basically. Shout out to the ITL, but yeah, I play perfectly in my games and like execute my plan correctly, and Hacks just seems to have a way of robbing some games from me sometimes. So not trying to allow that to happen. I am just going to go out into my Mesprit here and healing and wish up my Gren, because having that thing healing wished up removes the para and allows me to just click Dark Pulse versus his Kang late game, or just click Water Shuriken if I want to be really paranoid about Sucker Punch crits, which won't ever kill Gren from that range. But I'm now just going to bring in Selly here and just start spamming Heavy Slam, because with lefties and Leech, Selly is going to be out of range to die to his Ice Beams. I think at this stage he was out of Moonblast, so Selly is going to go down in a couple of turns. We're going to actually get the Beast Boost from the Heavy Slam, so actually going to be out of range of Kang, which is pretty interesting. Selly is really fat with a Beast Boost, so Kang will be unable to knock us out with Fire Punch, and we will get the 3-0 over Styx. So that was definitely a fun game. It was definitely tainted by some hacks on both sides. Would have loved to have had a clean game with no hacks on either side. I do feel like the hacks was definitely like, even though like I don't think one person got fucked by hacks more than the other. I definitely got parried. Like I think I got parried like 3 or 4 times, like fully paralyzed. One of which like I could have knocked out the Crobat, and another time I could have got heavy slam chip off on the Drud, which would have put it in range of Draco from Laddie. But then Styx also missed the Dragon Tail with Drudagon, and he missed a Super Fang with Crobat early on versus the Crook. Again, I don't think these things were like super influential in the outcome of the game, but it definitely just throws salt in the wound when a game is when a game is filled with hacks like that. It's just never fun. So it was definitely a fun game nonetheless. Go and check out Styx's side of the match, because I know he uploaded this a few days ago. As I said, this is going up a bit late, but hope you guys did enjoy. Definitely look out for Styx, go check him out, and watch the rest of his run. He is definitely becoming familiar with the format, and he's showing why he's a force to be reckoned with. So definitely fun to see newcomers in the format really excel. And that's going to be it from me, guys, today. I hope you guys did enjoy. Sorry if it did sound a bit tired. As I said, I haven't slept in like 28 hours or something like that, so running on very little sleep, but hopefully you guys did appreciate the upload, and I'll catch you guys next time.